The moment she said, "I make the rules here," I knew trouble had just parked itself in front of my house. 2 months later, she was the one being handcuffed under flashing red and blue lights, mascara streaked down her face, yelling about bylaws no one cared about anymore. And to think it all started with a BMW blocking my driveway. I'm Adrian Morales. I moved into Meadowbrook Commons thinking it was a quiet neighborhood, one of those perfectly trimmed HOA-run communities where nothing bad ever happens because everything is controlled. Every lawn measured, every mailbox painted the same beige, every trash can hidden at the right hour. I thought I could handle that kind of order. What I didn't know was that our homeowners association was basically ruled by one woman, Vivian Ashford. Vivian was the kind of person who wore authority like perfume. Always in heels, sunglasses, even on cloudy days, clipboard in hand. If she didn't like the color of your flowers, you'd get a letter. If your grass grew half an inch too high, there'd be a warning notice before sunset. Everyone called her the HOA Queen, though never to her face. The morning it all began, I walked out to find a white BMW blocking my entire driveway. I couldn't get my car out, couldn't even open the garage all the way. At first I thought it was a visitor, until my neighbor Mrs. Sterling whispered, "That's Vivian's car. She's inside HOA meeting at Fairmont's place." I walked over, trying to keep my cool. Inside, Vivian was surrounded by her little council sipping coffee like they were signing peace treaties. I asked politely if she could move her car. She looked at me over her sunglasses and said, "The street is public parking. I have every right to park there. Maybe you should read our covenants before making claims about private property, Mr. Morales." The way she said my name, slow, deliberate, made something in my stomach twist. I told her fine if that's how it is. I'd call the sheriff to clarify. She didn't blink, just smirked and said, "Do whatever you need to feel better." So I did. And 20 minutes later, when the deputy ran her plates, he found an active warrant missed court for unpaid tickets. Watching the self-proclaimed HOA Queen being cuffed on my street was surreal. Half the neighborhood peeked from behind curtains. I didn't celebrate. I just stood there frozen, thinking this would be the end of it. It wasn't. A week later, 4 bright orange envelopes appeared in my mailbox violation notices, all signed by President Vivian Ashford. My grass was allegedly too long. My garage paint was peeling. My trash bins were visible from the street, and my security camera a privacy violation against HOA members. I laughed at first. Then I read the fine print. Each violation came with a $150 fine, 4 in 1 week, $600. I called the management company, no answer. Emailed them, bounce back. It was like she'd erased the whole board and put herself back in charge. The next few days were hell. Letters kept coming. My phone buzzed with HOA reminder citations, threats of liens. Every time I saw her walking by with that clipboard smiling like she knew something I didn't, my chest tightened. One night I sat at my kitchen table surrounded by papers wondering if maybe I was overreacting. Maybe I was the problem. Maybe I should just pay the fines and stay quiet. That's what everyone else did. I looked at the letterhead at her neat signature, Vivian Ashford, HOA President, and felt small, powerless, like a kid being scolded by a teacher who already decided you're guilty. But then I called the HOA's corporate office again, and this time someone named Janet answered. I asked if those rules even existed. She hesitated, then said, "None of those violations are in our current bylaws, Mr. Morales. Vivian has no authority to issue them without board approval." That was the moment something in me snapped. I realized she wasn't enforcing rules, she was inventing them. The next morning she showed up at my door. Clipboard in hand. "Routine inspection," she said. I told her to leave my property. She pushed past the gate anyway, eyes scanning my yard. "You're making this harder than it needs to be." I pointed to my doorbell camera still recording and said, "Smile for the HOA archives." Her face froze. She turned and left without another word, but I could feel the hatred radiating off her as she walked away. That night my neighbor Darius Holloway, a retired civil rights attorney, knocked on my door. "You're not the first," he said. He showed me files he'd kept for years. Fake violations, unauthorized fines, even proof Vivian used HOA funds for her own legal bills. People had complained, but no one ever followed through. They were afraid of her. We spent the next 2 weeks gathering evidence: emails, bank statements, board minutes, photos. Every late-night light in my living room felt like a battle plan. I didn't care about her car anymore. I wanted justice. When the next HOA meeting rolled around, I walked into that community center with a binder under my arm and a steady heartbeat that felt like thunder. The place was packed. Vivian stood at the front, smug as ever. "Mr. Morales," she said into the mic, "I assume you're here to discuss your non-compliance." I stepped forward. "Actually, I'm here to discuss yours." The room went quiet. I laid out the evidence, her falsified letters, bank records showing personal expenses, charged to HOA accounts, even photos of her own property violating multiple codes. She tried to cut me off, shouting about defamation, but the crowd wasn't with her anymore. Neighbors started standing, Mrs. Sterling Darius, even quiet Mr. Cho from the corner house, all sharing their own stories. Vivian's voice cracked. "You people have no idea what it takes to maintain order," she screamed, pounding the table. But order was exactly what she'd destroyed. The board voted right there, immediate suspension, pending investigation. Vivian stormed out, slamming the door so hard the blinds rattled. 2 nights later, my mailbox was spray-painted with the word "snitch" in dripping red letters. My driveway had deep scratches across the concrete like someone had taken a crowbar to it. But the camera I'd installed caught everything, Vivian in her bathrobe, face twisted, holding a can of paint. When Deputy Palmer showed up and cuffed her again, she didn't resist this time, just muttered, "This isn't over." But it was. 6 weeks later, she pleaded guilty to harassment, vandalism, and misuse of funds. 18 months in county jail, 3 years probation, banned from serving on any HOA board for life. I sat in the back of the courtroom while the judge read the sentence. Vivian didn't look at me, just stared straight ahead, her perfect hair flattened by the rain outside. I thought I'd feel victorious. I didn't, just quiet, like the air after a storm. Walking out, I saw a few neighbors waiting by the steps. No cheering, no applause, just nods. The kind of nods that say, "Yeah, it's finally over." That night I passed the same spot where her BMW once blocked my driveway. The street was empty, the air still. My camera light blinked softly from the porch, watching, recording, protecting. Funny thing, people think justice is loud, that it comes with sirens, arguments, applause. But sometimes it's just paperwork, patience, and neighbors who stop being afraid. And that's what real order looks like.